This evening, first, border tensions escalate as Venezuela challenges Guyana's sovereignty, why the ICJ is stepping in and how Venezuelan patrol ships stir fresh concerns. Plus, cost of living crisis. The opposition blasts the government, saying rising prices are squeezing Guyanese families. The PNCR calls for action and the government's response. Also, a scholarship shakeup. Concerns grow over gold program, what the government is doing to reassure students, and cash for new parents. A $100,000 one-off newborn cash grant is set to launch. Who's eligible and when payouts begin? Finally, China's global warning. Beijing pushes its role as a peace broker, but is it a signal to the US? Foreign Minister Wang Yi's strong message on world stability. Stay tuned, these stories and more tonight on Headline News Update. Welcome to this broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Update for March 7, 2025. I am Baby Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. First up, the International Court of Justice has acknowledged Guyana's request for provisional measures in its ongoing case against Venezuela over the disputed Essequibo region. Guyana filed a request after Venezuela announced plans to hold elections in the contested territory on May 25, 2025. Guyana argues that Venezuela's action would violate its sovereignty and territorial integrity. In its filing, Guyana urges the ICJ to impose measures prohibiting Venezuela from conducting any electoral activities in the disputed region, including extending voting rights, distributing electoral materials, or establishing polling stations. The request also seeks to prevent Venezuela from attempting to annex or alter the situation in the territory currently under Guyana's control. The dispute stemmed from the 1899 arbitral award, which established the boundary between British Guyana, now Guyana, and Venezuela. Guyana's request follows a previous ICJ order in December of 2023, which instructed Venezuela to refrain from actions that could alter the status of the disputed territory. This case has been ongoing since 2018, with Venezuela challenging the ICJ's jurisdiction. Despite Venezuela's objections, the court has continued to move forward with the proceedings, emphasizing the importance of resolving the boundary dispute. The ICJ's involvement remains critical in settling this long-standing territorial conflict between the two nations. On March 1st, 2025, a Venezuelan Coast Guard patrol ship approached Guyana's offshore assets, including the FPSO Prosperity, falsely claiming in a radio transmission that the vessel was operating in disputed international waters before moving forward to other FPSOs. The National Defense Board convened an emergency meeting to assess the situation, while Guyana's Coast Guard and Air Force assets were deployed to monitor the EEZ. The government formally informed the International Court of Justice of this breach. In other news, the People's National Congress reform has raised concerns over Guyana's rising cost of living, stating that many citizens are struggling to afford basic necessities. Party leader Aubrey Norton announced this at the party's press conference earlier today.
High cost of living is killing Guyanese. Recent interactions with citizens in our community outreaches across Guyana and other feedback continue to reveal that people are still struggling to make ends meet and to get by. The cost of living crisis is still with us and is killing our people. People who feel it know it.
The party claims construction materials, transportation, and utility costs are becoming increasingly unaffordable, while small businesses continue to suffer.
People are saying that construction material is beyond reach. Small business owners complain that business remains slow and the cost of inputs keep climbing.
Norton said rent, transportation, and other household bills remain a burden and leave little income for food. He also criticized the government's handling of the $100,000 cash grant transfer, arguing that the initiative was poorly implemented. Additionally, the People's National Congress reform leader accused the government of failing to effectively combat drug trafficking and gold smuggling, arguing that recent large-scale drug busts have not led to convictions or the capture of key figures.
It was reported yesterday that a special organized crime unit, SUKU, seized a large quantity of gold and over 26 million Guyana dollars in cash in Letem last September. The Customs Anti-Narcotic Unit disclosed that it seized 4.4 tons of cocaine with a street value of some 40.7 billion Guyana dollars. No one was or has since been charged, although we were told that investigations are ongoing. These seizures are few and sporadic and do not result in conviction.
The opposition leader said these busts failed to lead to the identification or arrest of criminal masterminds. The PNCR proposed strengthening law enforcement with advanced surveillance technology, tracking illicit flights and boats, and depoliticizing crime-fighting agencies. Moving on, the government of Guyana has reaffirmed its commitment to ensuring that students under the Guyana Online Academy of Learning GOAL scholarship program will not be abandoned despite concerns over the validity of programs listed at the University of Staffordshire in the UK. Speaking at a press conference on Thursday, the PPP General Secretary and Vice President Dr. Barry Jaglio addressed the challenges with the International Skill Development Corporation, which facilitates the program due to a change in management. He assured students that the issues are being resolved, led by GOAL Director Professor Jacob Opedai.
I have great faith in his ability to ensure that our children, not just children, because you have some adults too, our people, they get a good quality education that's not fake. He explained to us, and I think he put out a statement, that there is some disagreement now between the university and the group, that the contracting group. What's it? ISDC, right? It's ISDC. And because of change in management at the university.
Being confronted with claims that the GOAL program is fake, the Vice President had this to say.
It's not fake. Nothing is fake.
Dr. Jaglio said Professor Opedai had confirmed that discussions had been initiated with officials from both institutions and feedback was expected by Thursday. If the issue remains unresolved, students will be transferred to other institutions in the UK that will accept their existing grades.
It's either they sort out the difference there, which could be sorted out, but if they can't sort it out, yes, 2 other universities in the United Kingdom that will accept the grade that people got. They already credit them for work already done.
The GOAL program, launched in 2020, provided nearly 30,000 scholarships to Guyanese, surpassing the 20,000 initial mark and ensuring a skilled workforce to complement the country's growing economy. GOAL had received a record 11,600 applications this year, surpassing previous numbers according to Dr. Opedai. With 6,000 applications already reviewed and scholarships being granted, Opedai is confident that GOAL will exceed its target of 9,000 allocations. Stick around when we return. Prison reform must go beyond infrastructure, Minister Ben, and government to launch $100,000 newborn cash grant on March 8th at the Antachang Convention Center.
On your marks, speed, strength, passion. This is where the best of the best rise to the challenge. The Ministry of Education presents the National Secondary Schools Track and Field Championships. 3 days of intense competition, raw talent, and unforgettable moments. From March 11 to March 13, 2025, the National Track and Field Center will witness greatness unleash itself. National Secondary Schools Track and Field Championships, March 11 to 13, National Track and Field Center, West Coast Demerara. Nationals, where stars are born.
Sponsored by Ministry of Education, Vitamalt, Triscuit, Demaco Ice Cream, Malta Supreme, Powerade, and Rainforest Waters.
Sneakily with a gift of sight from Modern Optical Services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Common smiles make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services, 316 Mill Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny? I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again. Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Furnishing your home or office has never been easier. Here at Kissoon's, our inventory of locally made and imported furniture, offered at amazing prices, will leave you wanting more. From vinyl, floor rugs and carpets, bedroom, dining and living room sets, mattresses, pillows, office desk, chairs and filing cabinets, outdoor benches and tables. We have a piece of furniture for every room imaginable in your home or office. Check out our flagship store at Industrial Site Rijnveld or one of our branches in New Amsterdam, Port Morant, Riverton and Camp Street. Kissoon's Furniture, furnishing homes for over 50 years.
Welcome back. The government of Guyana will officially launch the newborn cash grant at the Arthur Chung Convention Center on Saturday, March 8th, starting at 10 a.m. This initiative follows Vice President Dr. Barry Jaglio's recent confirmation that the government will begin distributing the one-off cash grant for newborns. Speaking at his weekly press conference on Thursday, Dr. Jaglio revealed that he had been in discussions with President Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali to ensure the timely rollout of the grant.
We discussed it. He is very much aware of how many kids who are born in the year, they'll all get the money.
Following the launch on Saturday, the distribution will be conducted in real time, meaning parents will receive the funds shortly after their child is born.
And we'll try to do it as quickly as possible because people may need that help in the first month, to buy things for the baby and stuff like that. So we should try to get it done quickly, like in real time after this period, right? Because the budget was passed even after people became eligible, because it was from 4th of January. So I'm going to press them to try to get it in real time. So like the baby is born the next day or so the parents can get it because it would help them.
Additionally, the grant will be retroactive, ensuring that all babies born from January 1st, 2025 onwards will be eligible.
Every child born from the 1st of January would be eligible. They're not losing the money. From the day it's launched, then we will try to get it in real time, hopefully, or as close as to the birth of the baby as possible.
The Minister of Health, Dr. Frank Anthony, is expected to deliver remarks at the launch of the newborn cash grant, which aims to support families and enhance social welfare initiatives. In other news, Home Affairs Minister Robertson Ben has emphasized that prison reform in Guyana must go beyond infrastructure development and focus on rehabilitation and reintegration efforts. Speaking at the Guyana Prison Service Senior Officers Conference 2025 on Thursday, Minister Ben highlighted ongoing improvements to prison facilities at Mazaruni and Lusignan, but stressed that real transformation requires addressing the root cause of crime. He challenged the Guyana Prison Service to rehabilitate the over 2,000 inmates in prison for reintegration into society. And while the minister acknowledged that not all prisoners might be able to change, the administration must address the facts leading to their incarceration.
Some perhaps can never be changed, but I take the position that their experiences in life, issues of poverty, issues of maltreatment, issues of self-denial and self-demeaning and all of those things which we have in our society are important issues which we have to tackle from the perspective of knowledge, self-awareness, awareness of the country and the culture and the history, and what challenges we have in the environment on a daily basis.
The Minister of Home Affairs petitioned for better treatment for prisoners, noting that they should not be beaten and should receive access to education, vocational training, and psychological support. He called for better treatment of inmates, noting that harsh conditions contribute to recidivism. The government's Fresh Start initiative, which provides occupational training for inmates, has already shown positive results, with juvenile offenders achieving academic success. Minister Ben reaffirmed the administration's commitment to expanding rehabilitation programs and the Do the Right Thing campaign to deter crime and promote self-improvement among youth. Don't go after the break. EU leaders hold emergency talks on defense budgets and Ukraine aid. And 2 arrested for impersonating police in Jamaica, possessing prohibited weapons.
Furnishing your home or office has never been easier. Here at Kissoon's, our inventory of locally made and imported furniture, offered at amazing prices, will leave you wanting more. From vinyl, floor rugs and carpets, bedroom, dining and living room sets, mattresses, pillows, office desk, chairs and filing cabinets, outdoor benches and tables. We have a piece of furniture for every room imaginable in your home or office. Check out our flagship store at Industrial Site Rijnveld or one of our branches in New Amsterdam, Port Morant, Riverton and Camp Street. Kissoon's Furniture, furnishing homes for over 50 years.
Sneakily with a gift of sight from Modern Optical Services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Common smiles make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services, 316 Middle Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny? I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again. Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world. In the Caribbean, 2 men were arrested in Jamaica for impersonating police officers and carrying a prohibited weapon. On March 3rd, Jamaican police officers stopped a suspicious car with a blue flashing light. One suspect, dressed in a police-like uniform, falsely claimed to be an officer. A search uncovered an imitation pistol. Both men were arrested and investigations are ongoing. Meanwhile, in North America, Mexico and Canada have received a temporary exemption from tariffs that took effect earlier this week. U.S. President Donald Trump announced that goods covered under the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement will be exempted for 1 month. Al Jazeera's John Holman reports.
A month-long reprieve for Mexico. After a Thursday morning call between Presidents Claudia Sheinbaum and Donald Trump, he suspended the 25% tariffs he placed on Mexican imports, or at least those covered by the US-Mexico-Canada free trade deal.
And I spoke to the President of Mexico, a wonderful woman, today, and we helped them out with the problem they were having to do with the tariffs, short-term tariffs. And we had a very good conversation.
President Sheinbaum said on the call she'd highlighted her country's efforts to stop fentanyl getting to the US, and said with tariffs, those efforts could suffer.
I said to him, we are getting results, President Trump. Now that you're imposing tariffs, how are we going to continue cooperating, collaborating, after something that hurts the people of Mexico?
both infused after the call about their mutual respect.
Tuvimos una excelente y respetuosa llamada.
Donald Trump won.
For Canada, a different story, at least in the morning when there was no update on the 25% tariffs also levelled on the country's goods.
I can confirm that we will continue to be in a trade war that was launched by the United States for the foreseeable future.
Proclamation.
But by the afternoon, the US also suspended tariffs for Canadian goods included in the USMCA agreement. But a note, this doesn't mean that the 25% tariffs are completely off. Some Canadian and Mexican goods fall outside of the USMCA trade agreement. There's debate about exactly how many. There's also separate tariffs on steel and aluminium that are due to come in on March the 12th. And finally, on April 2nd, we could be here once again, when President Trump's reciprocal tariffs are due to take effect. Mexico at least thinks it will be spared them because it has few tariffs against US goods for America to respond to. John Holman, Al Jazeera, Mexico City.
We now turn our attention to Europe. European Union leaders convened an emergency summit in Brussels to address rising security concerns and the need for increased military budgets. Discussions also focus on continued support for Ukraine as the Trump administration recalibrates its stance on European allies while seeking improved relations with Russia. Al Jazeera's James Bay reports.
An upbeat greeting from most EU leaders for Volodymyr Zelensky. This has been one of the Ukrainian president's worst weeks since the Russian invasion, with the US severing all military assistance and its vital battlefield intelligence. Here, though, he's among his strongest supporters and his friends, for the most part.
It's great that we are not alone. We feel it and we know it. Thank you so much for everything.
All here are aware of how dramatically geopolitics is changing.
Europe faces a clear and present danger, and therefore Europe has to be able to protect itself, to defend itself.
But as leaders arrived, some stopping briefly to speak to reporters, no one explained why the world has changed. Their fears go well beyond Ukraine, fears that the US will abandon its traditional role defending Europe. Yet there's another thing they're afraid of, further antagonizing Donald Trump, and that's why no one even mentioned his name. Around the summit table, leaders agreed to work on a proposal by the European Commission to rearm Europe with a price tag of about $850 billion.
For me, the most important thing now is to be very frank, to rearm Europe, and I don't think we have a lot of time. So rearming Europe, spent.
On Ukraine, in their final conclusions, there was strong support for President Zelensky from all the EU nations, apart from one, Hungary. It's long had a different view from its European and NATO allies. Of course, Hungary is no longer alone. Its position is very similar to that of the US under the Trump administration. James Bays, Al Jazeera, Brussels.
Finally, China is pushing its role as a peace broker, with Foreign Minister Wang Yi promising to safeguard global peace and stability. He made the comments at the National People's Congress in Beijing, and although he didn't specifically mention the United States, he warned that the law of the jungle could return. Al Jazeera's Tony Chang reports.
The broken bridge on the Yalu River, the border between North Korea and China. A memorial to the last time Chinese and American troops faced each other in battle. The bridge, partially destroyed by American bombers in 1950. And with the Trump administration openly talking about the threat from China, there's concern tensions could return. But China's foreign minister was keen to say his country was committed to global peace and security when he addressed journalists on Friday.
Imagine if every country emphasized their own priority and believed in strength and status. The world would fall back into the law of the jungle. Small and weak countries would bear the brunt, and the international rules and order will be severely attacked.
On the war in Ukraine, Minister Wang Yi urged those involved to reach an equal and durable peace, saying no country should build its security on the insecurity of another. And when asked about US President Donald Trump's plan to take over Gaza, he said China supported Egypt's plan for reconstruction of the Strip, adding the priorities were a lasting ceasefire and an increase in humanitarian aid. After a month of global diplomatic turbulence, it was a performance designed to reassure.
If China is willing to play that role that the US used to play, then we could see a kind of an Asian order emerging out of this chaos and confusion and turbulence and disruption. And in that international order, it could be Asia-led and it could be underpinned and underwritten by China.
Not that China would be relying on soft power alone. An increase in military spending will allow it to expand and enhance its capabilities abroad. And territorial flashpoints remain on Taiwan and in the South China Sea. But China has many more friends today than it had in 1950.
For many years, this bridge stretching across into North Korea was the main axis of Chinese diplomatic influence. But today that's all changed. Chinese trade links and influence stretch all across the globe. And as the United States appears to withdraw, China is more than ready to step in.
A thick mist swallows up the banks of the Yalu River, as China appears to be positioning itself as a bridge across troubled diplomatic waters. Tony Cheng, Al Jazeera, Dandong, northeastern China.
This brings us to the end of the regional and global news coverage. Up next is the 3-day weather forecast. And that's it to V2 Headline News for this Friday evening. As we take our leave, we invite you to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. We will be off for the weekend, but you can tune in on Monday at 7 p.m. for more news. Until then, please take care of yourself and each other and do have a wonderful weekend.